Hello, what does a student do? He studies. And you want to earn money? No, 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 no. I'm not judging you. But still, let's understand if you're a student, your primary goal is to study. So, with that background, let's understand the three aspects of managing your finances. First is your revenue sources, the money in. Second is the expenses, the money out. And third is the financial planning, a kind of budgeting or a kind of future forecast for your finances. With these three aspects, let's just head on to each one of them individually, beginning with the money or the revenue sources. So, if you are a student, the best and the first option which you must consider is scholarship. Now, you may ask that scholarship is only meant for good students. Now, again, I'll reiterate, what does the student do? He studies. So, scholarship for a student is the best source of revenue or income, period. Now, you have to look for a lot of scholarship options available. For every course, wherever you live in the world, there are lots of scholarship opportunities, and there are many aspects to how you can apply and how you can get those scholarships for yourself. And definitely, it's not going to be very easy. You'll have to compete with people. But again, what does a student do? He studies. Now the next is not a way to earn money, it's just a way of privilege. It's just a way of how society functions. You will be getting money from your parents and guardians. Now, this source of money is a very vital and a very precious source of money, and this is a gift for you from your parents or guardians, and you must be thankful about this source of money if you have this. Now, the third source of money or income is your childhood piggy bank. I know this is sounding funny, but definitely your childhood piggy bank, if preserved well, can become a good source of your money. Now, you may ask that the money stored in childhood piggy bank is quite less. How will that become a revenue source? Now, my friend, your childhood piggy bank was not earning any interest. It was just stored somewhere in a physical form. Break that piggy bank and deposit that in a newly formed bank account, because if you have started to study in any kind of university, you will have some kind of a bank account on your name. So deposit that piggy bank money in that bank account and do not use that money. Try to put it in some kind of a plan which just gives you a quarterly or a monthly interest, and don't eat up those savings, the piggy bank savings. Now, these are very small sources of money. Now, this next source is actually a very lucrative way to earn money as a student. But I would stress on the fact that if you devote a lot of time on this step, then you might not have a good amount of time for your personal study. And what does a student do? He studies. Now, so how do you plan for this next source of income? Now, this next source of income is somewhat related to your studies, so it will definitely be helpful for you. Now, this source of income is teaching. Now, if you really are interested in teaching, you like explaining concepts to people who are younger than you or maybe even the same age as you, then you could explore the source of generating income. Now, how do you go about it? You can start this by giving free lectures and free classes to a few people in the beginning, maybe 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, and try to understand that how much of time you can give to this activity and how much enjoyment you get out of this activity, and does it also help you in your personal studies. With these three factors, you can then narrow down whether this source of money generation is really relevant for you or not. Now, you may say that if you're good at something, don't do it for free. But my friend, free and not free is merely a concept of trust, because money is not the only way in which you earn wealth. You can get paid through some other kinds of means, because the skills which you will be gaining in the period in which you are not taking money, that will give you a kind of a strong foundation upon which you can start your money generating teaching source of income. Now there's a trick here, that if you do not want to spend a lot of your time in giving these lectures or classes, because if you start liking the source of money generation and you feel that this gives you good amount of money, you might spend a lot of your time on this activity. And as a lot of us do not know how to manage ourselves psychologically, this definitely will hamper your studies. And what does a student do? He studies. So I will give you some kind of a hack. Now you can modify this hack as per your liking and as per your needs. Let's say you have certain amount of leisure time. Now give the 10% of your leisure time, weekly leisure time, to this source of money generation, or rather teaching students, or rather teaching anybody. So if you want to earn money using teaching as an option, try to give something like a 10% of your leisure time, and after that the 90% of your leisure time is still free, so you can choose to watch something online or learn something new and maybe read a novel or something. So definitely this will not hamper a lot of your leisure time as well. Now this brings me to the last source of money generation, and perhaps one of the most important sources as well: student contests, innovation plans, business plans, and something of these kinds, which are definitely organized by all the universities, all the famous big companies, and they target to identify bright young students and then they reward them. So you can have your eyes onto such contests, such B plan competitions. Now definitely the barrier to earn money from these contests is actually very high. You have to be in the top 3 or top 5 among maybe, let's say, 100 or 200 odd people. So definitely this is not really a very simple source of money generation, but it is something which is related to your studies. And definitely whatever is related to your studies, and if it's generating money for you, it's the win-win for you. Now these are the 4-5 sources of money generation which you can consider as a student. Now this is your first step, the revenue step of managing your finances or earning money. What is the next step? The next step is your expenses. So you have to bring down your expenses, cut down on your purchases. Now how do you do that? Now let us suppose you spend a lot of your money on Netflix, on mini subscriptions, on maybe online magazines, or whatever you may purchase online or offline. Now try to understand which of the items is going to help you either intellectually or academically. Now only focus on these things. Anything which you just purchase it of the self with the idea of spending your time and just idling it away is definitely worth cutting down upon. So don't spend money on those items which you think is just not going to help you in any way. It's just a way to waste your time. So cut down your expenses on that, and then you have to understand that there are many libraries. Wherever you live in the world, there would be libraries nearby you. And yes, if you do not have a library nearby you, I consider that internet is one good library as well. So find a library near you and take a kind of a membership plan, and the cheapest of the membership plans, and then try to find the books which you want to read, try to learn about the things which you want to learn, and try to identify the ways in which you can devote your time to books, and in that way you will grow in all domains of your life as a student. And that is something which will also help you cut down on other leisure costs, because as a student you are tempted to buy a lot of stuff because you get a lot of your money from parents and guardians, so you don't know the value of money that much, and you kind of spend it away on many useless things. But that happens because you have a lot of time as well in your hands. So if you have a lot of books to read, it gives you a good amount of personality development, a good amount of usage of time, and for this the library membership could help you. What about the other ways of cutting down your costs? Now, definitely, if you are someone who eats a lot of chocolates, who eats a lot of chewing gums, who eats a lot of unhealthy stuff, and just for the taste of it or just for the experience of it, you need to even cut down on those items, because remember, the amount of revenue you can generate as a student is quite limited, and the kind of leisure you derive or the pleasure you derive from eating these unhealthy items is hurting you in two ways. First and foremost is the health, and second is your revenue sources. So definitely do not try to indulge in such unnecessary items. Now, the other ways of cutting down on your costs would be to try to purchase stationery which is inexpensive and just solves the utilitarian need of writing and reading. So, depend on the things which help you get things done, and do not buy fancy stuff. This will also help cut down on your costs. Now you have understood that you have to increase your revenue, you have to cut down on your costs. Now this is just half of the story. If you have to manage your finances properly, you have to have a financial plan. So this brings me to the third part, the financial plan. Now what does a financial plan would look like for a student? So a student ideally should think about something like a 3-month ahead or a 6-month ahead financial plan, and in that financial plan he will write all the revenue sources which he is expecting, all the costs which he is expecting to incur, and then try to identify how he plans to increase revenue and decrease costs. So this will be a good way to manage your financial planning. So this is something which makes me think about a different video. So this is just a bit of number crunching, and I might make a tutorial on that if you comment down in the comment box. So what have we learned in this video? You need to increase your revenue sources, and I have given you 5 sources. What are those sources? Scholarship, money from parents and guardians, your child piggy bank, teaching. Fifth is contests. Now definitely do not forget, a student studies. Then bring down your costs by only spending on the items which help you in some way. Third is having a financial plan, a 3-month ahead or a 6-month ahead plan of your revenue sources and your costs which you're going to incur, and a plan to increase the revenue and decrease the cost.